Hello everybody, my name is Ilvinio Kikcin. I'm a Dutch photojournalist and I'm currently in the Africa Museum close to Nijmegen in the Netherlands. And I'm going to try to give you a sneak peek while I'm walking through the museum. Currently on show is Through the Lens of, let me see, there you go. Through the Lens of, and it's a show that consists of the works of 17 different storytellers from different African countries. I know it goes very quickly and you can't really properly see, but we're on the way to the works of Mahmoud Khattab. And, oh, there we go, you can see this wall as well. So all the images that you see here on the walls have been selected from the African photojournalism database. And one of the photographers, here is his work. Let me put this in the right spot. There we go. There, one of the photographers that is on show here is Mahmoud Khattab. And I'm now going to try to invite him into this chat. Somewhere in Cairo. There we go. Hope he's gonna join us. And while we're waiting for him, there he is. Mahmoud, how are you?
Hi, Ali, how are you? I'm good. Can you hear me?
I'm fine. Yes, I can hear you. I'm trying to show the images that are on show. I'm not sure if you've seen them already. The way
yes,
they're shown here. You've seen it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show it. There we go. It's quite difficult to see. But these are behind, like in a glass, yeah, I don't know what you call it, like a glass cabinet. And there are a few on the wall here as well. It's really beautiful. I hope you can come see after this crazy COVID craze. So, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And the first question that we always ask our different photographers is, what did you do today?
I spent some time cleaning my terrace because I love my terrace so much. So, and I was doing some readings, making sure I revisit my story for today.
I see. So when did you shoot the story? We're going to talk about the story later, but just so I know, because you said revisit, I'm curious to know how long time ago it's been.
This is what is shown there is a body of work for my story that's called The Dog Sat Where We Parted. I shot it in the year of 2018, back when I served for a year and 2 months in my country here in Egypt.
So it's quite recent still. We're going to talk about the series after I'm going to ask you, or afterwards, because I'm first going to ask you to talk a little bit about who you are and how you became a photographer or photojournalist or image maker, storyteller. I don't know. What do you like to call yourself?
I don't really call myself a photojournalist, but I can call myself a visual storyteller. A little bit of background. I'm self-taught, and I graduated from the School of Medicine here from Ain Shams University in Cairo. I am a general practitioner, and
Okay, totally different.
Early on before I even graduate. So, yeah.
I see. So that's a whole different story than I didn't know that. That's really cool. I forgot to mention one thing for all the viewers. This interview will take about 20 minutes. And please feel free to ask any questions to Mahmoud. He's here now. So any questions, just type them in the comment box and we'll make sure to answer them. So now that you are a photographer, what does your day-to-day photo life look like? Do you do assignments or what does it?
Well, my practice isn't really a groundbreaking coverage, although I used to do that, but I stopped it in the year of 2014 for the sake of my safety. My safety here, my stories are generally personal, and it's becoming of my observations and readings. I'm also a writer, so I tend to read a lot of historians' depictions of what the things are that might interest me. This is my everyday today life. But mostly in the recent days, shooting taking pictures of my birds, because I don't go out as much.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. Oh, there you are. Sorry.
So it's becoming more of photo shoots, a photo session. I take them around the corners of the house, and I just take pictures of them.
Oh, they're your own birds. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, I thought outside birds.
Antar.
Oh, they should have joined you. Are they next to you?
They could. It's my first time as well on live here, so.
Yeah, I see. So you didn't want to bring in the birds right away. I can imagine. So you said you like to read up on into subjects that interest you. So what kind of subjects are those, and do they also most of the time or sometimes turn into photo projects?
Right. So, for example, I've been reading about. There are two things I've been reading into. First off, the history of Egyptology in Egypt and the excavation works of ancient Egypt's artifacts and how they came to be. Because I was quite taken, to be honest, not by the very recent parade that was all over the news, but the current constant show of mummies, of my elders, in the way that shows them as pure product of their own civilizations and not people anymore. And this is what got me to read more into that, and where I go and take pictures of how I see them in the museum and different parts. And in other ways, I also read in the geological history of Cairo, because these days I go to different sites and I literally find fossils that are left behind from construction works in the edges of the urban Cairo. So I read more into that because I find things that are strange to me that I have no idea about. So I tend to go read about them or go to visit the geological museum.
It seems like it's very what's the word? I don't know the right word, but like National Geographic like. And it almost seems like your other work, the series that's right behind me, is from a different, it's more of a personal story, of course, but it's also maybe a different atmosphere, maybe less historic. So
yes,
so that's interesting.
The only difference is that it's quite personal, where I most of the time am the subject of that story, where I'm exploring it from my own, because I'm as equally impacted by the people I present in the stories.
And could you maybe explain about the story? In the meantime, I'm going to try to show the series again, and maybe you can explain what it is about.
It's a story about my service, my becoming after months of losing my individuality in a way, because I'm being joined by a lot of brothers in the service. And the title of the story is called "The Dog Sat Where We Parted." It's also a story about my dog that I raised there. It's called Antar, and I write that on my last days in uniform, Antar would accompany me wherever I go. He would sleep next to me in my guard shifts and wake me up if I fell asleep. He was a scary 1-year-old to many, a deep, loving dog to a few of us.
No, dogs are amazing. And you kind of found him there while being in the service, or it was already your dog?
No. I actually, it's a funny word that we have, because this dog was immediately born as I started my my service in my unit. We call him our classmates.
I see.
Exactly 1-year-old when I finished my service.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And which image, from the selection that is here in the museum, which one would you like to talk a bit more about, or which two? You can actually pick two.
Not bragging, but it's the story of my my self-portraits. It's the one where I hold my hands in the glasswork. Yes.
This one.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us about this image. What does it tell, and what does it represent to you?
For me, it was a way, to be honest, this whole project was a way of telling my friends that I was doing okay. I was kind of missing in action for the first 3 months. I was trying to adapt. All of my head was shaven. I was wearing the same uniform. I was talking the same way with everyone else. And in a way, this was my getting back to my friends on social media. I was literally telling them that I'm doing okay. I attached this letter to it where I say, I have been marooned. I have been taught to obey, to follow orders. I have been ridiculed, made fun of, beaten, thrown in jail. I caught a gecko. I raised 3 dogs. I heard a snake, but I never saw it. I cried a lot. I grew plants. I watered them every day, sometimes every other day. I don't have a name tag. I am a soldier, dressed as a soldier, referred to as a soldier. I saw the last lunar eclipse in awe. It was a once in a lifetime. I saw both the eclipsed moon and our Milky Way together. This
Wow.
was a getting back message to my friends.
That's a beautiful getting back message.
I run into
Wow.
my on Facebook and I was trying to assure them that I was doing well because everyone I know knew that I was starting my service, but it was becoming this shock to me because I had lost every sense of communication and I had lost every sense of my individuality as a person.
What was that like for you to, because you mentioned it as well in the opening text here that you lost your individuality. What can you explain a little bit about? Yeah.
It was on the way, and this story as well is not only about losing it, but also becoming the later 6 months where I get it back by taking care of my dog and growing the plants. Where the story is, and the picture here is showing Walid in the car where I would go on in the rides with him. What I meant about losing my individuality is that in the first few months, all of my fears, all of my hopes, all of my thoughts have become more cornered into one thing, and I was sharing it with everyone else. Like, when do I take my break? I would stay 30 days in the desert, and all our hopes are becoming one thing. I no longer hope or think about my works, and this is actually one of the reasons why it took me so long to manifest or to work on this, because the first picture I take in this project was after 3 months into the service. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So you didn't start right away.
Not really, but the writings are much early on. But the first one I share in public was that letter that I read to you, to my friends.
Yeah.
But what I mean more about losing my individuality is that all of my feardoms, all of my hopes, all of the way we dress, we're asked to dress, is pretty much same. We look like each other. And
you're breaking up a little bit. Sorry, what was the last thing you said? You broke up. The line broke a bit.
I said, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear
you. What I was saying is sharing all of these feardoms, all of these hopes, all of these laughs with everyone else. They're becoming the same. They're becoming one thing. They're not really expressing of my own personality, but it's expressing of me trying to fit in the group, because if I don't get to see my family for longer days. I get to stay longer days. I don't have breaks. And this is what I meant.
And did you feel that taking pictures helped you to maybe stay an individual? Because you could kind of grasp onto something that was for you or made by you.
That's a pretty good question, because even before that, I saw myself as someone who loves to take photographs, as a photographer. And this was for me a way of seeing through these days, even though it was very sensitive. I could not, all of these pictures that you see are taken by a phone, a very small phone that I managed to hide. Yes,
Wow,
yes.
that's amazing. They're
Thank you.
printed quite big on this wall and they're beautiful.
Yeah,
But even the quality is also beautiful. Like a phone? Okay. Oh,
yeah.
that's a really funny detail to me. Okay, cool. I would
No,
have
because
never imagined.
my God, if I go in with a camera,
Of
I have
course.
capacity to think about it because I've become close friends with a lot of the people that I photograph in this story, and I thought for a day I maybe get in a camera, but I thought this would jeopardize my own story. I would
I
not let
see.
anyone, even my close friends that I've become so friends with, I would not let them know that I am a photographer or I'm taking pictures of them. It's just like a very
That's your
random.
secret. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering if there's any people with any questions because you are here now. I don't think there are any questions in yet. So there's a lot of shy people, but don't be shy. Just he's here now. Questions about the pictures, about the birds, about I don't know, can be anything.
Yeah.
In the meantime, would you like to pick another picture maybe to talk about? Would that be okay with you?
Yes. Actually,
Let
this one
me.
is a picture of a tree behind the fence.
Yes, this beautiful one. Sorry about the reflection. It's I
Thank
can't
you.
really
No,
do much about it,
uh,
but it's beautiful.
thank you. This is actually a tree that I was tending for. It was really like it was almost dead, but I would water it every day. And this picture was taken on my very last days. It was kind of like a goodbye. I'm making sure she's doing well. And this is like a morning dew.
Wow. It's a beautiful. Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to like show it properly, but for everyone who
No, no,
wants to check it
I,
out,
that's
check out the
okay.
museum's
I
Instagram as well. But there's,
Yeah.
you see, I'm trying with my hand to block the light, but it's really beautiful. So it kind of, it feels like during this time you had a couple of things that try to keep you sane. It's the like this tree growing, you had the dog, and someone just asked a very interesting question that connects to that. I don't know who asked the question, but someone asked what music kept you sane during this time.
Actually, this is a very interesting question because this is also inherently linked to my own upbringing. I used to watch my father uh, sit by hours, watch Kulthum, and uh, and Kulthum, she's a very she's a known she's a known singer. Of course, she's like our own gem and in music.
Uh-huh.
But she, on one of her remarks, she would sing the same line for 40 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
And I would not understand that. I would not like understand that. And the only time I tried to, the only time I tried to understand that was in my service, where I would sneak in songs for like a 40-minute song, and I would never understand the reason why people almost worship her until I become, and part of my duty was, beside being a doctor in my service, I was taking shifts for 4 hours at a time, even 6 hours. I would
Mm-hmm.
stand
Oh
there
wow.
staring into nothing, sometimes into the night. And this song, I would hear it. I'm trying to even to remember it. أكتر من مرة عاتبتك أكتر من مرة عاتبتك. She would do this for 30 minutes at a time.
Wow.
And for me, this became this meditation. I knew that
Yeah. Can
that I
imagine.
knew why people are like worshiping her is because most of us are like staying there for 4 hours at a time, and she's the one who's making it feel like you're there, but each moment is different than the one before. You're hearing the same lines, you're hearing the same tunes, but every moment is so different than the one before it.
And what was the line that you just sang? What does it mean? Or it is not of importance in this case?
أكتر من مرة عاتبتك. This is like she's confronting her lover, like she's having arguments with him every time. Every time she blames him, and then she says اديت لك وقت تفكر, like she gives him time to think. It's like
Beautiful. And that for 40 minutes.
Yes, for 40 minutes, the same lines.
There are quite a lot of questions all of a sudden coming in. I see them strolling in, and we are a bit pressured for time. All of a sudden, everyone has questions.
Yeah.
Are you planning on working on another project? That question is coming from Rahet.
That's very interesting. So now I have actually, I've been finishing my project. It's called When Birds Sang Again. I briefly mentioned it earlier in this interview. When I talk about my listening to the sounds of birds, it's more of a multimedia where I record the sound of birds during the early days of lockdown, and I use them in mixing with my writings, as well as pictures that I've taken of my birds and my family, and questioning of the social and emotional distancing that I have personally experienced with my family. And one of them is actually questioning why I no longer, because in my upbringing, I don't want to speak in the name of my culture. In my upbringing, I'm brought up to kiss my elders' hands, my parents' hands. It's a show of respect. It's every time I go to the house, it's a way of saying hello. I kiss my elders' hands. But for a year now, I haven't done that. And I'm questioning that in my story, When Birds Sang Again.
Beautiful. That sounds like an amazing...
These two are in parallel. I'm sorry, Elvie?
No, I said that sounds amazing, but then you were breaking up a little bit in the end. But there is actually another question coming in. A lot more. Sorry. Yeah, there are a lot of questions in the chat I'm seeing. So maybe some of them, if you would like to, you can answer them later in a direct message, because we won't have time to go through them all. But I'm gonna read out one of them from Ahmed Orban. He asks, what inspires you to start Somewhere in Cairo, the Instagram page? And how do you find beauty in the midst of chaos?
Thank you. That's a really lovely
two questions. They're beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, that's a really lovely question. I think it started back in 2015. It was answering the question because I grew up to love stories. I grew up to love listening to stories. And I thought to myself, why not? I can tell a story or two of my own. And I thought of what better way to explain this as a title than, and actually as a project. I call it Somewhere in Cairo. There is a story that is being told. You don't need to know the exact location of that story. It still is somewhere in Cairo. And this is how I loved to do it back then. I was really, in the beginning of that project, Somewhere in Cairo, I was really more oriented towards showing what Cairo is to people outside of Egypt, maybe exciting them to come visit. But
exactly.
Yes, but with the more days, the more experience, the more stories that I tell, it becomes more personal. It becomes more of how I see it, of how
Is it for you also a way to create something beautiful in chaos, or does Cairo not feel chaotic to you? I've been there for quite some time, but
it does feel chaotic in so many ways.
Exactly.
But I would never trade it. There is so much richness in this culture. The warmth. I'm not even going to talk about the visual. I don't really care so much about the visual aesthetic as much as I feel about the warmth of the culture. There's so many stories to tell. I still to this day go to so many places, get surprised by them. But yes, I still find that glimmer despite the chaos.
Thank you. I think that's a beautiful line to end this Instagram live. We went a little bit, quite a lot over time, but it was so lovely listening to you. I could listen for another 3 hours, I think, but we can't. But thanks for sharing all your story, and thanks everyone for watching. I hope that you
so much.
Maybe have time. Can you answer some questions in the DMs if you want? Because there were some more questions coming in. If you could, feel free.
I know how it works. I will check it and I will answer them. But thank you so much, Elvie. And thanks to Africa Museum, thanks to WordPress Photo and Everyday Africa for this beautiful collaboration of the African Photojournalism Database. I've been immensely in debt for all the services and the chance to give us audience. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your work. And to everyone else, and also to you actually, on the, let me have a sneak peek, 29th of April, we will be back with another session of Talking Photography. And that time around, it will be with Etinosa Yvonne, a photographer from Benin. So please come back on the 29th of April and see you then. Thanks. Bye. Bye,
Thank you
Mahmoud.
so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.